we're back. So, like I always say, obviously, you see the character on the screen. This is probably going to be a harder video to do because there's so much stuff to cover, but it's a character I play as well, kind of like Zato, but obviously I wanted to bring on a second opinion, so I brought on Christian Crab. Say what's up.
Hey, I'm Christian Crab. I like to throw cubes.
Christian obviously has a YouTube channel, so we'll plug it later when I shout out all of his socials. But someone who's been playing Asuka for a very long time. Obviously, we've seen him in top 8s of tournaments and whatnot online. But, I mean, he's been playing this hard character for a while, so yeah, I kind of wanted to do a video talking on him and talking about the character, and so, yeah, now we're here. There's so much to talk about, but before we get to the spells and all that, I guess we'll talk about just Asuka as a character, without that side. So, let me ask you this. Do you think Asuka is the hardest matchup in the game to learn?
Undoubtedly, I think Asuka. I think Happy Chaos is he's a bit annoying, I guess, but you can learn it. It's very easy. Do this. Oh, I won't say very easy. It's there's a kind of not a linear plan, but there's a plan out there. Where Asuka, it's yeah, you do this. Oh, but change it if you have this. Oh, but if he has this, now you gotta do this.
Yeah.
I would say undoubtedly Asuka is one of the hardest matchups to learn for most characters. Some characters like Axel, they can still run their game plan perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I'd say only Axel can play exactly the same, but some other characters can do pretty well against him while playing kind of similar. But I'd agree, he's the hardest matchup to learn.
Okay. And I guess with the hardest matchup to learn, what is his playstyle? You said it varies because there's so much you can do and so much you have to do in character-specific things, but what do you classify Asuka as? Is he a zoner? Is he a... What is he?
I guess the best thing would be a conditional zoner. If I have... Let's say I have auto mana regen going, I have auto draw going, then, here, I guess let me just pull them out. If I have, a hand like this, I'm gonna be sitting back here comfy, just throwing cubes for a while,
yeah.
But it really won't do anything until I run in, and I can force tap D mix,
yeah.
Some, other mix with teleport left to right. So I would call him a conditional zoner, where, yeah, he can stay full screen, kind of do stuff, but he still needs to, at the end of the day, run in and mix you to do significant damage.
Okay.
And if he doesn't have those conditions, if he's zoning full screen most of the time, he's not really going to get a lot. He'll be draining a lot of his health if he wants to regain mana as quick as possible. There I lost an 1/8 my health to do basically nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess talking about HP, so the thing with Asuka, which happened, I want to believe this was either the start of Season 3 or 3.5, but he did end up receiving some nerfs. Obviously, the cubes used to fly at, Mach speed.
Yeah. At least Asuka was crazy, dude. I wish I was good as I am now then, so I could see what he was like.
Yes,
oh my god.
I actually think about that all the time. Damn, I wish I was good with this character back then, so I could just...
Yeah, I think this was I would say this was release speed. Maybe a bit slower.
Yeah, it was a little slow. Yeah, and it was crazy. And obviously they made the cube hurt box bigger, so if you shoot a cube, you can hit it.
Super easy. You don't even bro.
With these two nerfs, talk to me. Okay, and outside of the speed and the hurt box changes, he obviously received 2 nerfs, which the streets were so happy about. The green card and the auto refill. I believe the green card went from
15 seconds
to 10.
Effective 130% of your bar, by the way, for one card.
Yes, and then the auto shuffle went from 10 to 5 seconds.
Yes. Could you? This used to be 10 seconds. That's actually crazy.
Yes, it used to be 10. Again, you probably weren't as experienced with the character as it is now, so you didn't get to experience it. But how crazy does that sound from how good you are now? How crazy does it seem to have?
Oh my god. I'd make infinites, man. I'd go test case 3. I'd do whatever. I'd get my stuff. I'd throw all my cubes, build enough tension to do it again. And by the time I have that, I could cycle. I don't even know if I need the super to do it, honestly, because I could probably cycle through back to the auto draw or auto mana and just... And he becomes the best zoner, because I'm standing here, throwing a million cubes, give me all your meter, or lose your life to chip.
Yeah.
It's definitely reasonable what they nerfed him for. I think it was it would have been bad if they didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I guess I had this conversation with someone else the other day, but like you said, so hardest matchup in the game to learn because there's so many different like ways he can play the game depending on what he has, and obviously the test case that you're in. What about like? I guess people are starting to figure out the matchup a bit, but would you agree that it's really hard to actually execute that game plan versus Asuka? Because I feel like, again, you get overwhelmed by how much stuff is on the screen, and obviously there's the elephant in the room button, the 2D, which people are just so scared. It's hard to approach him, right? Like, it feels like there's no, like, maybe there's a few characters in the game that just do, like, kind of built to beat him. But besides that, it feels like, do you agree that it feels like there's no certain way to actually beat the character? Or, like, what do you believe?
I think, so obviously this is hugely character dependent, because some characters, like, for example, her projectile, it goes full screen, it basically invalidates anything I want to do. I gotta approach her unless I get a very good hand with a lot of cubes. But generally, I think, it's decently hard to approach Asuka, especially with his 2D. If they're like machine gun cube over here or whatever, most of the time I found that super jump into dashing to them just works, because most of the time they won't, unless they have meter to, reaction 6p, but then that's that's another layer or whatever. But most of the time, if you can super jump over the cubes, you should be good, because the fire cubes, here, let me get them. Yeah, like these fire cubes, when I have a lot, they don't spread too far. The wind cubes, they spread a decent amount, but if you're still a bit preemptive, you can jump over them. So I'd say super jumping and smacking him while he's either getting tension back or drawing cards is one of the best ways to deal with him. Especially if you have like Geo, for example, she can do like dash, 5k, super jump, and like kill me for trying to do stuff.
Her jump is really good. Her jump is really good versus Asuka.
Yeah, and I'd say most characters have some specific tool to deal with it. Like Bridget has Yo-Yo, Sin has I believe Beak Driver and what is it, Elk Hunt as a low thing or whatever. So again, it's just hugely character dependent.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, like, it feels like when approaching Asuka, and I think this is why he's considered the hardest matchup in the game outside of all the spells and whatnot, it feels committal a lot of the times, and I think Asuka is a character that he benefits so much from having the health lead, because obviously and we'll talk about it later, but we could have both agree, he's not great at making comebacks, right? Like,
yes.
Especially, okay, it depends on what the comeback is. If it's like a 10 HP, like 10% HP difference, it's fine, right? But if it's like you're at 30 and they're at 100, it's pretty hard. Especially if you don't already have especially if you don't already have the cards, like the green card, to get set up and start hitting them, then it becomes a little more difficult.
Yeah, like 0 tension Asuka, 0 like health Asuka, like it's just not possible to make that comeback.
So again, I just feel like at times, especially when he has the health lead, it's like it feels, I mean, obviously when they have the green card as well, you don't have to do the red mana regen, you can just do the one that costs nothing, the green one, due to the already boosted increase of the mana. So, like, for example, if you were to shoot all the spells and activate the green card, and then just do there you go. Like, it's so...
that's a decent amount.
Yeah,
If we're full screen driver and I'm like 1 HP and I get this card, I can kind of stay here, let you run in, and then I would to, like, play a little bit, scrap it a little bit, but then I would have full mana. That's a lot more effective health.
Yeah. And obviously one thing we didn't talk about as well, the blue bar around his health bar. So, talk to me about his HP from... With that, how it works with the mana bar and without the blue bar.
Alright, so Asuka has the highest effective health in the game. With a little disclaimer on there, because...
By a bit as well.
Yeah, by a decent amount. Because, surprise, he also has the lowest amount of health in the game. This is Schrodinger's health bar.
Yeah.
You don't know how much health it has until he has no mana, I guess. So, Asuka with mana, I believe he has like a 1.5 defense multiplier. Don't quote me on that, but I know that when he loses his blue thing around his health bar, which is directly related to tension, as long as he has the purple bar on the bottom, he will have that blue bar on his health bar, which will make him much tankier. But as soon as I lose all my mana, Then yeah, just smacking it. Asuka also loses mana
Yep,
for blocking
and
taking damage.
and blocking, getting hit,
Yes.
and blocking.
Interesting. But yeah, now it's red, danger mode, whatever. I don't have the little blue particles around. I'm dead.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Zato, but you know, most of the time I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he takes double damage without the mana thing, which makes managing resources all the more critical. You're on a constant, most of the time, you're on a tightrope of, I wouldn't say most of the time, sometimes you're on a tightrope where, okay, do I need to regen mana now, or do I continue my pressure? And it's a split-second decision you gotta make.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, like we said earlier, the green mana regen is the slowest, but it costs nothing. Costs nothing. And then there's obviously the yellow one, which is faster, but it takes your attention.
This one costs tension.
Yep. And then
Isn't that bad for Asuka, honestly.
And then obviously there's the red, which you see most of the time, and this one is the fastest, but if you look at his HP, it costs HP.
Exactly.
And I believe this factors, like we said, it factors into making comebacks, because let's say you have no cards, so I'm going to take your mana down.
Yeah.
I'll do like one. Yeah, okay. And then if you were to lose all your cards, and then you want to get your mana back, look at his HP. Right? It's quite a bit. So he's pretty bad at making comebacks. He can't use the mana regen, the red one, when he's at 0. I mean, he can, but he doesn't get anything.
It won't get the increased rate.
Yeah, it won't give the increased rate if he has no HP to spend. So he's very... It's very hard to learn this character. There was definitely a learning curve, and I guess that leads to my next question is, where would you put him on the scale of difficulty? So, like, easy to learn, moderate to learn, hard to learn, and then how hard is he to master as well from learning him?
Okay, so to like pick up Asuka and like get decent with him, I would say it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think some people over-exaggerate it a bit. It's just it's kind of like a turn system, right? Like I do one action, now I'm gonna draw a card, and most of the time I still have advantage.
Yep.
So now I can press 2K there or whatever, and still most of the time get a lead, and continue my offense, right? And then it's just learning to juggle that. So I'll do this or whatever, that's all good, but now I gotta get mana back. And juggling all those components, I'd say it's decently hard for the first time, but it's a bit more intuitive than people think. Maybe I'm a bit biased to say that. I've been playing him for a while.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be deterred by his skill floor. I think it's how to describe it? It's simple but not easy, if that makes sense, right? Like it's skill floor, I'd say it's still pretty high, much higher than like the average Guilty Gear character, Strive character or whatever. But it's not impossible, as some people have made it out.
Yeah. Now
to master, that's a whole different topic. I don't know if anyone has mastered Asuka yet, because there's still so much to him that that everyone is still learning. I'm still learning a bunch of new things myself, and there's so many mini optimizations you could make, like this hand or whatever. It opens up like insane lines of, okay, maybe I do mana regen into fast staff into wind cube to get plus frames, to swap into this other test case to get cards there.
Yeah. And
and that's like all from like a blink of just looking at that.
Yeah.
So very hard to master, very hard to optimize, but you can probably learn him. Don't be intimidated by him.
So you're thinking he's hard, but he's like, or hard to learn, but he's not like stupid, ridiculously hard to learn. He's just hard to learn, but he's very hard to master, and there's so much space for improvement, even by those that we see are the best with the character, like Gobo, right? He can still be pushed harder. Yeah.
Kome Kome is another Asuka.
I was gonna bring him up. Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring him up later because he's definitely doing some things right now.
Little teaser for later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like we said, so the 2D. This is just okay. So we'll talk about his normals. So unironically, this character has really good P normals and the good P normals. He has the good 2P. It's a pretty good 5P as well.
Yeah, it's your law, like regulated 5P. Everyone has to have one.
Hits pretty far. I would say hits not as far as Zato's, but hits pretty far.
Like this, and the red roam cancel is very good. Obviously.
Yes. Yeah. And then obviously he is pretty good. He has a good 5K. The 2K is a little bit stubbier, but it's still good. And then
still stubby, but You know, it's not for neutral, more for combos, kind of,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
up close pressure.
And then he has, like you said, sometimes he has to get in and do mix-ups. I wouldn't really know. I guess it's a mix-up. He has the 6H, and then obviously the 6K, which is, yeah, that's an overhead. I believe it's
GO2S.
25 frames?
25 frames, I think, yeah.
Yes, yes. And then the 6K.
Special cancelable, too. 6K, yeah. Double hitting low.
Yep, very good. Very good. And then, obviously, his Far Slash and 2S aren't the greatest, but they exist.
Yeah, I'd say I really use them for neutral.
Yeah.
But they're decent combo tools.
Yeah. And then there's the 2D. This button is just the only button you see, right? The only button you see.
Yeah, basically.
But I guess I want your opinion on the button in particular. So obviously we can both agree his normals are kind of filler, right? Like the P normals are good, the 5K
like
is good.
This is just
combo
combos
tools,
only.
yes. But the 2D. So there's I guess I've heard some things from Asuka players where people might say the 2D is good, but it's a little overrated, or you know the hurt box on it is the starting hurt box is pretty bad, or you know and then people who don't play Asuka, it's broken, it's like the best normal in the game. So what do you personally think about the 2D?
I personally think 2D is undoubtedly one of the best normals in the game, but it has its drawbacks where it is a projectile, so sometimes at max range from like 5K it just won't combo.
Yes.
So here, let me try to like space myself out.
Yep, that didn't combo.
Like that wasn't a true combo at all. And that can really mess you up sometimes if you're trying to continue a combo.
Yeah.
It is it is a projectile, right? Due to it being a projectile, it has travel time, and yeah, there. Thank you for showing that. I'll get to that next, but the projectile having travel time that adds to the it being able to drop more and not being. I think it starts 12 frames, but it takes a while to go out.
Yeah.
And due to also being a projectile, that's counter hit recovery, right? So if you like jump in over this.
Oh wait, that was auto moment. That was a auto moment. That was just a auto moment.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, there's counter hit recovery. If I'm just throwing it out in neutral, it has a decent amount of recovery too. If they're jumping over me, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's all the cons of it. Sometimes it can drop combos. It has a little bit to travel, and it has long counter hit recovery. But the pros are... Oh, sorry, one more con. As you showed earlier with 2S, when Asuka flicks his hand forward, it's a huge hurt box.
Yes.
Yashi.
And honestly, people... I will say this, because for someone who didn't play Asuka and saw this button, when they would tell me there's a hurt box, I'd be like, yeah, fucking right. Like, you guys are full of shit. Like, this button is broken. Like, there's no jump.
And then show the dust loop.
You have to, like... Okay. This is sound wrong, but like you have to play the character, and then you would see like what we're talking. Like there is there is a hurt box. Like trust me, the move feels terrible to get hit by. Like I've been in the trenches getting hit by this move.
Yeah.
I've watched Christian Crab hit 10A with 2D like over and over like 30 times. Right? It's terrible to get hit by, but when it doesn't work, it sucks. It hurts a lot.
Because it's kind of like your main thing in neutral to do your thing, right?
Yeah.
So when that one thing doesn't work, you're like, oh, let me try something else. Oh, wait, what else would I try?
Yeah.
And that's where... I guess you could argue that's a con, but it's just a nature of it being so good.
Yeah. And like I said, it's I think this also plays into why I said it feels so hard to approach him, like there's not a safe answer. Because it's almost like even if Asuka isn't using 2D, it's the threat of using 2D. And like you said, if you ID over it, he's a counter hit, and then you can kill him for it. Especially if he's lower on mana, right? Because if he's using 2D, it's either you're getting closer, or he's lower on mana trying to get that knockdown so he can get his stuff back, right?
Yeah.
So then what ends up happening is they throw themselves at Asuka, but Asuka's not doing anything. It's just a mind game of using the 2D. You get you counter 6 speed, right? And then next thing you know, you're hard knocked down on the floor.
Yeah.
He's getting the mana back. Hard super maybe, or he gets his spells back.
High-low mix. I have whatever. You're running into insane offense.
Exactly. So yeah, it's very good, and the mind game of it is probably actually better than the move itself.
Yes, less is more with Asuka a lot of times.
And I guess next we can talk about so he didn't get any specific changes this most recent patch. But obviously, all characters lost hard knockdown on Wild Assault. So, talk to me about that, because for me personally, I think it's like a net neutral for Asuka.
Yes.
But I'm curious on your opinion.
I was thinking it was a net positive at first because obviously Asuka, he's a very polarizing character. He either will steamroll you, or you're gonna get the first hit on him, and then you're gonna steamroll him because you're hitting him. He's losing mana during that. He's losing mana during blocking, and then he's gonna have to make a much bigger comeback if he loses the first interaction, right?
Yeah.
And Wild Assault definitely did not contribute to that. But again, on the flip side, showing how polarizing this character is, whenever I get my offense going right and my knockdown, now I need to, okay, well that was a bad example. Now I need to spend, always need to spend tension to get a wall break, right?
Yes.
Whereas before, I could do Wild Assault and have like 100 tension prime to do the most insane stuff, right? Like I could go here and then look for like the perfect cards, right?
Yeah.
But now if I have 50 tension a wall break,
You have to spend it.
it's back to round start, which isn't, again, it's hugely matchup dependent, but most of the time isn't too bad for Asuka. But it was just how good Wild Assault Wall Break was for Asuka before.
Yeah.
That made it, I think I would agree with, it's mostly a net neutral because it's very bad that he lost it, that he can't continue insane hard knockdown offense on Wall Break. But it's also very good that he has more chances to come back after an opponent wall breaks him without any tension, right?
Yeah. And I guess Asuka, for me personally to speak on it, I think he's a character where I guess he doesn't really need to break the wall necessarily.
Exactly. That too.
So, but when he does, having that, I mean, okay. Now, like, okay, Happy Chaos doesn't need to break the wall now. A lot of his combos scale pretty heavy, so it's gonna wall stick eventually. But if you have him like let's say if you're Happy Chaos, you obviously have like the close slash 6K loops. You can wall stick, right?
Yeah.
There's always that option.
Chance a gun.
You know, Asuka, you're in the air, get hit by a cube. You can always like just get your resources back during the combo and then not break the wall. But before, there was a time, especially when he was at his peak, where you would break the wall and then like the game would be over, right? Like
yeah,
the game would be over,
like,
right?
In this example, if I had the 5 fire cubes, 100 tension, hard knockdown from Wild Assault, the game's basically over. I do 5 fire cubes, I get all my mana back if I need to get any mana back. I do card super to look for the most optimal cards for that scenario there. And then I would just do this, and then if I don't kill from there, I could do it again.
Yeah, especially before as well, when he was at his peak, right? Like, it was pretty much like a GG situation. But obviously now, it feels really bad. Sometimes when, like, let's say the wall does stick, right? And then you have nothing. A lot of the times you can just lose from that situation.
Like what I showed earlier with sorry to interrupt. No, I showed earlier with like the multi-cubes, sometimes those break the wall and you don't want them to, right? Like right there.
Yep, right there.
Like pretend I had like less cards or whatever and less tension. This would be a decently bad scenario for me to be in.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it just depends, but thankfully he's a character that doesn't need to break the wall and usually has a lot of control over that. But sometimes again, like depending on the cube you have, right, you want to shoot it out, and then, like, it ends up breaking, you're like, ah, oh, damn, like, okay. And I guess, like we said, round start, going back to round start, is pretty bad. And I guess this round start in general is, would you agree, this round start is pretty not great?
The more I've played, the more, obviously, you gotta, like, round start call, you gotta look at your hand, see immediately what you have. Most of the time, the only cards I'm looking for are either the blue cube, or the Screamer, the red explosion, this.
Or the rock as well.
The rock is also very... I smell what he's cooking. The rock is very good here.
Yeah.
Like, instant air dash back. This is like Ram, I think, JS, like on steroids, basically.
Yeah. Very good, yeah.
His normals, most of the time, aren't... Like, I don't think I've ever seen bar slash
you're not pressing
round start.
Round start, yeah.
5k round start, it's like very... Like, it beats, like, Soul 6H and,
yeah.
And probably some other stuff I can think of right now. 2K is just if they're running at you, like, you're obviously not hitting them round start.
Yeah.
And, 2D round start, this is kind of just asking to die.
Yeah.
It's 12 frames, any other normal round start option will beat it. Yeah. But, most of the time I find myself to walk back and then respond to whatever they do, right? So, like, walk back, blue cube or whatever. Yeah. Most of the time I can't take the initiative.
Yeah. Again, Asuka is a character, most people, like I said, they feel so, like, when they have to approach him, they feel so committed to do so, that they really don't want to lose the round start, because they feel, a lot of people have that mindset of, and this isn't true, but a lot of people have the mindset of, like, if you lose round start to Asuka, the game is over, right? Which I don't personally agree with, unless like he gets the heavenly cards, right? But
Exactly, yeah. If I get speed staff, like auto draw or whatever, there's a bunch of niche scenarios.
Yeah. But most of the time is round start, like you can commit with like a 6P, or he'll do like again ID back with like the Screamer or the Rock, or just backdash, and then throw some cards. His round start, if he does press a button, it's more centered around him knowing that you're scared of him, so you don't want to press a button, so then you're gonna let him press a button. So it's more of a mind game of and that's kind of, I feel like that's a lot of Asuka's gameplay in general. It's the player knows that you are more scared of him than he is of you a lot of the times, and so he used that to his advantage. So like a lot of times, especially in strings, you might do before you shoot out a card, you might reshuffle a card when you can't, and then you
yeah.
Or
there's a lot of disrespect you can do to steal some turns.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that playstyle kind of dies when people start fighting Asuka like they don't care about their health bar. There's a few crazy individuals out there that will just throw like over and over throw themselves at you. But again, that's whatever.
For example, this hand right here, like this is an interesting hand to get round start, right? Because now I can't really back up and throw a cube, right? I kind of need to be the one approaching you now. Now I need to determine this all from round start, right?
Yeah.
Like now I kind of need to be running at you and getting stuff back, right? Like there, fine. Now I have a cube. And at the time, there's already been a lot of interactions where I wasn't the most favored.
And there's so many sequences as well. Like you could pop obviously the buff and then go into the cube and then go in the red sphere, or you can red sphere shuffle, discard, use the you can do so many different things, right? So I think that's where the creativity comes from this character and why he's so interesting. Let's talk about. It's crazy. We've been talking about so many different things, and we haven't even touched like the specific cubes yet.
I know. There's so much to this guy.
So much to. Okay. Well, one thing I want to ask you, and I believe we talked about this a little bit before this we started recording, but his burst situation. So obviously, most people when they look at Asuka, even if I hit you, it doesn't matter because you're just gonna burst. Or even if I burst you, I send you back full screen and I lose, right? So talk to me about how maybe true or untrue this is in the spots Asuka can be at a negative when getting bursted.
Sure, yeah. So I think I'm gonna say this for every question, but it's hugely character dependent, right? Yeah. Like if I let's say Kai bursts me, right? Yeah. Like I'm comboing him or whatever, then he bursts me. I can kind of just keep doing my stuff forever. He doesn't have a lot of stuff. Like if he just charged Sun Edge, it won't be. I believe it won't be advantage enough.
Yeah.
And it might trade with cubes, like best case scenario. Yep. And then we're back to neutral, me being full screen and being able to sort through my hand and stuff, right? But Happy Chaos, for example, right? He bursts me. I gotta respect him fully. Yep. He puts his gun on me. I can't throw anything. I can't even do like blue cube into whatever. Yep. I need to start running up dash blocking him. And so for like people bursting versus Asuka. I'd say it's dependent on the matchup as to how good a position that is for Asuka. I can't even like generalize it because it's so different for everyone. Like even Soul, if they like burst and they whatever I 50 tension, they can just night raid and blow you up if you try to do anything.
Yeah. And again, one situation that Pep brought up when I asked him about Zato's burst, I asked Pep in the Zato video. I asked him, so do you believe Zato is the best or the worst character versus burst? And he said yes. But at times it can be Asuka for situations.
Was this before the patch with Eddie dying?
No, this was this patch. This is this patch.
Okay. Just make sure.
So basically in some spots. So if you already have like the health disadvantage, right? And let's say you're lower on mana, and you want to make a comeback. Let's say that
I probably wouldn't burst this right now, honestly. Yeah. Like if I was like in a game.
Yeah. If I lose, if you don't have burst, and let's say I lose my turn, right? And then I burst you, right? This situation is, or let's say like if you get enough mana to throw like one cube, right? And then you throw the cube. Oh wait, I don't have burst. Basically, imagine he has no mana. He's lower on health. If he throws a cube,
let's say I have this right, and I have like low mana. I throw my only resource, and then I get bursted.
Yeah, right. What then this situation is so. Then it's weird because he goes from the best character, or maybe. one of the best characters versus burst.
I think one of the best for sure. Yeah.
To being absolutely bottom 1, 2, or 3 versus burst.
In the corner, much worse. Most of the time, and especially so if you have no resources.
Yes. But I believe, yeah, I mean, even with burst, like, he also, again, he's so good from it that he can't put, again, like, versus Kai or some other characters, you kind of just go back to what you were doing.
Exactly.
So he can't put you, depending on, again, the health bars and whatnot, he can't put you back in some checkmate situations. But he, like, he can put you in checkmate situations, but he also can get put in checkmate situations.
Exactly. He has a huge theme of polarization to this character.
Yeah.
And as for Asuka's burst, I think you could definitely argue it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Because even a character like a Happy Chaos, right, like auto tracking, hit stand, bullets, I can burst him and still be able to throw like at least one thing, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how good the Happy Chaos player is and how well they know the matchup, they might know to break the cubes and then continue their thing, which at that point, you know, then I gotta go back to my dash blocking or whatever. But if they're at a point where they're like too scared of the cubes, right, and they block it, then I can kind of keep enforcing my cubes full screen and slowly get in, so I can play some of the cube reps with normals, right, and then get more resources and start my game plan from there, right?
Yeah.
So I would definitely agree Asuka's burst is one of the best against like basically every character, even like Soul with Night Rage Vortex, right? If I throw a 1 cube early enough, it'd be able to clip him down, and yeah, I think Asuka's burst is definitely one of the best.
Okay. And I think that is everything about Asuka without the cubes. I guess we talk about the cubes now. Okay, so obviously at the start of the game, he always starts in test case 1. In test case 1, I think test case 1 is the most consistent test case. So what I mean by that is test case 2 has some bad cards which you can't really use, but it also has some good uses to it. And test case 3 has the most powerful, like those cards, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, but test case 3 has the best cards, but also the cards you can't really use. Like, one that
there's
staff
a lot
is
of
kind
utility cards there.
Yeah, exactly. So it has the most powerful spells, but it's not always like you're gonna get them. So like what I mean by that is people view test case 3 as being very broken. And it is when it works. Because a lot of the times you go into test case 3 and you get stuck in a situation where, let's say you have a bunch of teleports or a bunch of like cards like the green card or the regen card that you can't throw out. They're not all attack. Like this card, like this deck right here, it can happen to you. And this is something
it can happen to anyone,
right? But what I mean by test case 1 is the most consistent. Like look at his deck. Like, you know,
like basically it's very hard to draw a dead hand on test case 1. I've had it happen sometimes, but it's very hard.
Especially that card that you just discarded, the one that, right there, that gives, if you have no, if you take out the 1, 3, and 4 slot, you have access, you can just instantly get all your cards back. And they're all attack cards. Well, not every time, but, you know.
In test case 1, like 90% of the time, they're all attack cards.
Yep. And then, in this test case, you'll also have access to the low, the high, very plus on block cards, obviously all attack cards for the most part. So it's very
like, consistent. Is amazing.
Yeah, very consistent, but not the best. Just because test case 3 is so powerful that when you get going, and I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Asuka's game plan. Obviously you start in test case 1. You want to start in test case 1 until you're in a comfortable situation, and then you swap the 3, and then you play from there.
Exactly, yeah. I'd say generally, right, test case 1, you kind of want to hold on to an auto draw. Maybe you get, this is like if you're feeling risky, right? You do this or whatever, this, and then swap test case 3 with some advantage from that. And then this is like a huge high roll, right? Okay, like there on full screen, right? I'm not really doing anything against you. But let's say I had a lightning cube on you, right? I did this up close. This is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just hugely dependent. And then if I were to get, for example, like if I got this when I auto drawed to test case 3, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna buff myself. Like I'll try to do the card 1 first to get more cards, you know. But now after that second or so of buffing, you know, Zato could have been running at me and mauling me to death. Yeah.
And I guess so. Obviously, there's a thing in test case 3 known as Exodia. It's obviously the cards you get. You get those, and then you get the Arpeggio, the wave of cubes, and then you get the auto regen.
Yeah.
You might not be able to get them because, again, it might be kind of hard. And we only have so many chances because, again, it's not infinite meter. But
Yeah.
I can put them on the screen. It's the green card, the mana, the auto shuffle, the arpeggio, and the five fire cubes.
Yeah.
And that's basically known as like the Exodia. Talk to me about how strong you actually think test case 3 is.
I think test case 3, like statistically speaking, right? I think test case 3 is very strong. Most of the time, it will benefit you, but I believe there are like I think there's like 12 utility spells, with those being mana regen, the redo card, the chaos option, which can give you 2 more utility spells if you are unlucky, I guess, in this scenario. 2 staffs, and that's probably not 12, but some amount. And then there's also 4 I think 3, or I can't remember, 3 or 4 arpeggios, which are very slow, I mean, obviously very powerful. You've probably seen these the most. I believe there's 4 or 3 of these, I can't remember, which are very slow, and I can't really do a lot if I have like only that cube up close, right?
Yeah.
So all that considered, I still think Exodia is insanely powerful, because 5 fire cube at will is crazy.
Yeah.
It's very hard to break through. It takes a lot of match knowledge to know how to break through that, and then by the time you even have broken through that, I probably have an arpeggio ready to go at you again, and then that's assuming I didn't have time to buff first, right? And then I can buff and then get my things rolling in test case 3, which is a lot easier to avoid the dead hands in test case 3 when you have auto mana regen, because you don't need to worry about regenning mana as often. You can spend more time shuffling through your deck, and with the auto draw, obviously lets you go through more cards quicker. Like here, right? I'm just gonna cycle through all my cards even quicker. I still think Exodia is extremely powerful. I think most people have a good reason to be afraid of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, so, let me ask you, if we had to make a tier list on Asuka's spells, now I'm not going to ask you to rank everyone, because that would be very hard, but what are his best spells, do you think? And it could be from any test case. The first... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. Just continue your thing real quick.
Oh, no, I was going to say the first one that comes to mind is the speed staff, but...
I was about to say, this is his best card, I think. Like, I'd say undoubtedly. It adds Guard Crush to all it makes them a lot faster. It adds Guard Crush. I don't think it says this in Dust Loop, but I believe it does more chip damage too.
Yeah, and it wall bounces.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and it wall bounces. Guard Crush gives you plus 11 frames. You can get, obviously, better strike throw mix with the Guard Crush. And, yeah, let me show the wall bounce. And it's just a lot of crazy scenarios, right? Like, I can be full screen, run in from that, and then you still be wall bouncing and pick up off of that. I'd say it's undoubtedly one of his best cards. And before the nerf to Asuka, when the auto drop from 10 to 5 seconds, and the auto mana went from 15 to 10, my strategy used to be, I'd go in test case 3, wall break with hard knockdown and wild assault, right? Swap to test case, throw out like a really plus fire cube, right? Whatever arpeggio when they're hard knockdown. Swap test case 1, like shuffle really quick, look for the speed staff, right?
Yeah.
Alright, there, I didn't get it. And then I would place that down, back to test case 3, another one. And at this time, I probably still have like 5 seconds of auto draw left, because time, I believe time doesn't move when you're in the super, right?
Yeah.
The debuffs. Well, not the debuffs. The time doesn't pass for the buffs.
Yeah.
And then it would just be crazy. Another thing about Guard Crush that I think a lot of people don't know about, it removes cross-up protection.
Yeah.
So, let me see if I can set it up here. But, like this.
Yeah.
That's a left-right mix, if you were to try to be blocking that.
Yeah.
And, it's just crazy. I think his speed staff is undoubtedly his best card. And then, I think the follow-ups that enable it that are also some of the best are, his test case 3 utility cards. Yeah. Obviously, the auto mana regen. It only lasts for 10 seconds. It lasts for 10 seconds now, but it still gives you like 90% effective of your mana bar, I believe, just over time. So, do this. Boom, now I got 90% mana over 10 seconds. Insanely good, obviously. And, the auto draw, I touched on it earlier, just lets you go through your deck quicker, right? You can get to more powerful options quicker. You can, just throw more cubes quicker without having to worry about recharging mana or drawing your cards back. I'd say those are very good. Yeah. And then, I guess following up on that, the cards that are still really good, but like not as like, I'm always gonna try to go for that, right? I think, I didn't find it there, but the gravity staff. A lot of people see, I think there's a million clips of them floating around, right? I have this. I have like a hornet's nest above you, right? And This is the strength of the what's it called? The auto draw, right? I can just go through more cards.
Yeah.
Do an insane combo there, which most of the time I would say isn't optimal, as the scaling is decently bad on it for the considering the amount of resources you're spending, right? If you're using health to get it, you're getting a lot of health there. But Gravity Staff is also very good, even just like plop down in the middle. Like if I just say, I think I need to, I don't do it, so I need to get it again. Like here I say, okay, this here, just put that in the middle. Let's say here, now I'm gonna have this zone of death basically, right? You can try to run at me. It's gonna be very hard to clear that, and in the time you're using to clear that, I can probably run out and do it 2D, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say Speed Staff, the Auto Draw, the Mana card, and Gravity Staff are some of his best cards, with the follow-ups to those being the actual offense ones, right? Like Arpeggio, obviously it's insane. Gives you free tap dust mix. I think it's like plus 100 something.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
This I believe is like plus 26. It guard crushes. It does a ton of damage. It levels up the damage for every 11 cards you use. It's just nice. And then the fire cubes and test cube, I believe another one of his really good cards. Like their gimmick is they start at a number and they go the other way over time. Like here, I started with it at 4, so if I top deck it and like immediately recognize I can do it, I'll throw it for a huge volley. But if I draw it and I don't have the time to use it, right now it's basically a weaker water cube or a weaker blue cube. I throw this, it's a little bit slower. But on the other side of that, if I get one starting at 1, like here, this is a big example. The 5 will decay, or the 1 will go up over time.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly how plus it is, but it's very plus.
Very,
to do this
very plus.
point blank, and I get a bunch of options or whatever. Can use the combo, do whatever, regen mana. I'd say those are his best cards.
Yeah, I think those are the best cards because they're the most consistent. Oh, go ahead.
And I forgot to mention, just because I know we don't see them as often, but obviously the high and the low cards are very good.
Yeah.
It's the overhead I believe is 18 frames, so like yeah you can react to it, but dude, if I have this hand and I'm running to you, I'm just gonna do this, right?
Yeah.
If you're aware of me having the overhead, I'm just gonna do it, and then now overhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously the overhead spell and the low spell also are very good.
And the overhead hits hard. It's way farther than you would think.
Exactly, yeah. It's not full screen tracking, but it's pretty far.
It's pretty far, yeah, and it's plus.
Yes, it is. All his cards.
All of his
are
cards are plus. Yes.
Basically, yeah. The only limit is when he has to decide, okay, now I'm gonna get my resources back. Basically.
Yeah.
Like they can go gung ho or whatever, but then there's round mana, right? So it's finding that bounce to getting the insane offense started.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, I'd say the mana discount. It just gives you basically plus. It makes everything half off.
Happy chaos concentration.
Basically, yeah. Its card is just very good. I just don't use it as often because I don't seek for it often.
Yeah, of course. And I guess like the cards we said, like those being the best, they're the best because they're the most consistent. But like you said, obviously Asuka can play at different ranges depending on what he has. I mean, the slow big cube obviously becomes one of the best cards when you're up close, right? Same with the lightning.
Exactly.
Same with the lightning pages, right? The red sphere is pretty good as well. The lightning spell is pretty good as well if you can get it chained into it.
These,
right, so
like,
good.
They have their moments to shine, right? Like this full screen, it's not really gonna do anything. You can react very easily and be able to break it. And if they do block it, then sure, and get some stuff going. But it's pretty slow. It's pretty easy to destroy. But obviously up close, it's amazing. I have a lot of plus frames. I can do a lot of other things. Same thing. The TARDIS cube that you mentioned here, it's basically like a lightning counter star. It's the most polarized version of it, right? Super slow, has a huge hurt box, obviously. But if I'm up close, there's so much evil stuff I can do.
Oh, of course, and it's your best so combo tool at times, right?
Exactly, yeah, and it's in combos. You can here, let me get it. In combos, I can just use it. It's just a lot of time there in the air, right? I can build a lot of resources there, make a lot of choices. It's very good.
Yeah, very
good. But those, I wouldn't say those aren't like. I'm always happy to find a 5 fire cube, or like a speed staff.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'd say those are like the main ones I'm always happy for. I'd probably be happy most of the time I see Arpeggio, Auto Draw, or Mana Regen, but like if I'm in a scenario I don't have a lot of cards, or I'm like up close to them, those wouldn't be preferred there, right? But I like 95% of the time you want them. Whereas like these Lightning and the slow cubes, they're very good up close, but like they're basically dead draws when you have them far away.
Yeah, of course. And the Arpeggio, like you said, you're always one of the cards which most people would be surprised that you didn't say that you would always be happy to have is Arpeggio, and that's because you need up close. Well, farther away depends on the space, because obviously if you're here, it's not gonna work. You know, most characters can react up here, right? You need another card to kind of chain into it, and especially if you're closer up. There's only a few cards in the game that actually will allow that to happen without it being mashable. Like if you do blue cube into Arpeggio, that's not gonna work,
super
right?
fake. Even Wild Assault into like Arpeggio, that's super fake.
Yeah.
Let me...
If I'm wrong, the only cards that up close will actually like jail into the Arpeggio are the Lightning Pages, the 5 Fire Cubes, the Slow Cube.
I don't know exactly, but yeah, Slow Cube.
The Slow Cube and the Yellow Lightning spell.
Yes, the Lightning. Like, this one is so plus, I think I can even draw a card in between.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you can't match there. But, you know, that's if I want to optimize a bit more. I could probably just do TARDIS into Arpeggio and be guaranteed plus. Yeah. But that's basically everything, yeah. Wind Cube, up close, it's definitely not true, but a bit further away, it is more true, just because it's just the nature of the projectile, right?
Yeah, of course. Farther away, like you can, you know, depending. I mean, if they block the blue cube from full screen, you can go into the Arpeggio. But closer range, like you know, obviously if you're doing corner stuff, you know, you have the 5 Fire Cubes, the really slow one on the right, the Lightning Pages,
like this.
Yep, like that.
That's nowhere near close to being true, right? But if I were to be up here, it would probably be way more true.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, you were right. Where it's the Lightning Cube, the TARDIS, the big slow one, and the
5 Fire,
the Lightning Books, and the 5, maybe 4 Fire Cubes. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. I guess.
But that's where you need to jail into them. Like full screen. Most of the time I get Arpeggio off, but it's like, again, it's just hugely character dependent. But like full screen, I'll be happy to see Arpeggio, right? Because I can do it most of the time, and characters can't really do anything about it. If I'm like anything a bit closer, it's a bit scary to do because they can run up if it's not true and just blow me up for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was gonna ask about the teleports. So
yes,
the teleport, like you said, it provides left-right mix, and obviously, one thing people might not know is it crosses up at the corner. You're able to steal the corner with the teleport, which is huge. So, you know, there's obviously some Arpeggio setups you can imagine. You know, you do the first wave, and then before the second wave hits, or even after even you could cross up with the first wave, but it's more specific. Yeah. But most of the time you're seeing like the second wave. Talk to me about how good you think the teleport is, and if you think it's one of his best spells.
I think you'd say it's one of his best spells, but I think it's 4 of them in test case. Oh, I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the 12 utility cards, teleports. Those, I would say those are utility cards. It doesn't guarantee you immediate offense, you need something else to enable it, right? Teleport is obviously very, very good when you have the things to enable it, right? If I have like 3 teleports on a lightning cube, that's kind of a bad draw. Like here, this is amazing, right? I can do this. I can cycle through or whatever. I can go back to try to get more resources, and then I could even like go back and then go right back in just to cycle through my cards quicker. But it's just it leads to so many messed up 50-50s. Like here, like that's a cross up. Like no one has blocked that. Off of throw, right? That's a cross up. No one's blocked that either. And then obviously with Arpeggio, it's very good. And I'd say those are his main cross up things, but this as well. Since God Crush removes protection for cross up, you can do some things there to be I'd say against most players this mixes, but some really good players starting to react and catch on. I'm trying to get okay, there we go. Like here or whatever, I can go this and there's like 2k for mix. That's decently slow, but if I have a blue cube, right, then I can cancel. Yeah, let me see if I can get it. It's a 3-card combination, so it's a bit harder to get. But okay, there, right, like this. That's just a cross up. That's pretty fast, I'd say, and that's just an amazing thing that TP allows you to do, right?
Yeah.
But when you have like a full hand of them or whatever, it's a lot harder. Because like you can like you can try to run away, but you are capped by the screen obviously. If I'm full screen, I'm trying to teleport back, I'm just gonna teleport in place while you're still running up at me, right?
Yeah.
So
Danger.
I'd say it enables his very plus cubes to be very good, and it's very good for resets too.
Negative
Like
max.
if I have like 5 fire cubes or whatever, then yeah, like here, just get hit real quick. Like that. That's a cross up. It's just there's so many things you can do with it. The world really is your oyster when you have teleport and a lot of cubes ready to throw.
Yeah. And I guess we could talk about, okay, so obviously there's Asuka player out there named Kome, and he is the test case 2 guy.
Demon.
The demon. But it's funny enough because this is the least seen test case. I know people in the past, I know Gobo, he tried using it on stream and he just said, useless. Why would you use this, right?
I
Like,
remember that,
why would you use it? I remember seeing Zondo trying to get him to go. I believe he didn't like it as either. I know some Asukas try it, but it doesn't really work out. But then this dude came along, and he's like whooping Gobo in the mirror, and he's, you know, doing some crazy stuff.
Killing it on rating update. He's doing a lot of tournaments, I believe, in I'm not sure whether I know they're in Asia.
Yeah, he's in Asia.
Yeah, they're killing it with Test Case 2, where most people, so you said earlier, Test Case 1 is the most consistent. I'd agree, it's like the most well-rounded. Test Case 3, it's the highs and lows. You have insane power spikes, but also you have dead hands. Test Case 2, it's the mix-up one, which, like, it sounds nice, but the biggest thing that's stopping a lot of people from using it, I'd say, are the utility cards. They aren't nearly as good as the other ones.
Yes, they're so, and I actually think, okay, call me crazy, I think in this test case, he holds the worst card that he has, which is...
Oh, for sure.
Which is the...
maybe
not
the...
maybe not the worst, but it's pretty bad. For those who don't know, most people probably haven't seen it. What it does is it removes every card that Asuka has on deck in exchange for some mana. Yeah.
So boom. I have full mana, but what am I gonna do with that? Right, I have no cards. All mana, no cards. The only synergy I've used this for, and I rarely use Test Case 2, is to do that into this, right?
Yes.
So I'm not gonna fill your stuff, but it's a pretty big commitment you gotta think ahead for.
Yeah, and I think this will. So before we talk, before I get your opinion on why Kome is able to use Test Case 2, and you know maybe the hidden strengths of it that you've seen from watching him or using the test case that you believe is allowing him to win, I want to talk about 2 staffs in this test case that are very unique. So to kind of touch up, I guess we kind of touch up on all of Asuka's staffs, but the other ones are pretty self-explanatory and not as unique as these 2. In Test Case 1, he has the Speed Staff as shown, that guard crushes, wall bounces, great for combos, and then he has the Slow Staff, which is probably his, I mean, obviously the worst staff in Test Case 1.
I would say that's his worst. We'll talk about it later, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not great, and you barely see it used. Maybe there's a matchup out there where it can be used, but it's pretty bad. The cubes obviously are easy to hit as is. Like, single cubes are easy to hit it as is. And so when you have it out, it just makes it easier to hit them. And obviously, it's giving the opponent more space to approach Asuka, which is not what he's, like, not the game plan. So, very less used, but the Speed Staff is broken. Like, it's broken. Like, everyone loves it. And then you switch to Test Case 3, and you have the Gravity Staff, which is, you know, the GOAT Staff, along with the Speed Staff. And then you have the Anti-Gravity Staff, which is pretty not great.
I think it's niche.
Niche, that's perfect. Yeah, it's niche. But most people don't see it just because it's not really used, and it's very overshadowed by the Gravity Staff, which, I mean, there's no surprise that staff is
the Gravity Staff is much more obviously useful. The use is immediate, whereas the Repulsion Staff, you kind of need to, like, really set it up in advance. You can, like, kind of make it a pseudo-speed staff, like putting it behind you, but then what if they burst you, and then now you're behind it, and then what? They basically have a shield. You can put it behind them to maybe push them towards you, because those staffs affect the opponent when they're in hit stun or block stun. So you can set up some weird things there, and when on hit, it grants a tumble state. It has a lot of weird properties that can be
a lot of weird uses, but not the greatest for neutral, I'd say. But out of all those staffs, none of them, they only affect the cubes. None of them actually affect Asuka. But when you go to Test Case 2, these 2 staffs actually do affect them. So before you throw, or actually, you know what? No, this is good. So this is the Jumpy Staff, the high whatever staff. So jump.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right? Like, crazy.
These staffs, yeah, they affect his gravity now.
Yeah,
his
they
movement.
not only affect the cubes, but they affect him as well. So if you
Yeah.
place out down the other one, you see the ring under Asuka's feet, meaning look at his jump now.
By the
And
way,
this allows for instant overheads, which is huge. And depending if you have the right
Yes.
card, you can actually confirm off that overhead. So
I believe the ones you can confirm off of it are the explosion, the red one, and the blue cube, because the cube will go down. I don't think lightning books confirms off it. I think it's dependent on character.
Rock as well.
Oh yeah, sorry. The low rock as well would confirm off of it.
Yeah. No, which is it's so cool. I think that it's very
Yes.
unique. So if you jump right now,
Here's normal jump, right? This is I have Gold Lewis jump arc basically, right? I have Gold Lewis JD that's
but
instant.
you like the over. Yep, you get
That isn't a true combo
Yeah.
there, but that's just weird. Here, true. Oh, I messed it up, and the staff ran out there. But there I had blue cube. That would have been a true combo, right?
For
Like
example,
here.
if I'm
Yeah.
yeah. So
There.
that, oh wait, I should probably get hit. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll keep that staff for now. Here, I can show this one off real
Yeah,
quick for the
so,
cubes.
let's jump.
So normal jump, obviously.
Super jump.
Oh yeah. Sorry, normal jump basically becomes super jump, and
Yeah.
super jump here becomes crazy, and the cubes just go wild.
Yeah. So
They're just.
yeah.
I would say test case 2 are definitely the funniest staffs.
Yes.
I love them.
And then
And
look
here,
at the
for
cubes.
example,
Yep. Straight
it's
down.
just. I don't know if this is better or not. Again, I think it's very funny, but I don't know if I
Yeah.
would call it better.
Yeah.
But like here, right? Here, just get hit by this.
Yep. It's
Right there's an
overhead.
instant overhead.
I believe that's a.
I think it's 14.
Wait, how fast is JD? It's 14.
I think so. I think it'd be 18 overall the jump, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure JD is 14 frames. Let me check real quick.
Go. 14. Okay, so it's an 18 frame
yeah, it
overhead.
was. Okay, yeah.
18 frame because of the 4 frames of pre-jump. So 18 frame overhead, which is insanely good. And on top of that, he has more access in this test case to the overheads and the low. So
Yes.
again, it's just
three of
mixing up
each
your
in this test case.
So yeah, it's just mixing up your options. And in this test case as well, it's kind of like test case 1 as well, where you have. So okay, the utility cards in this test case are obviously worse than test case 1, but in exchange for that, they are pretty low mana cards. So obviously, test case 3, you get the more expensive cards, but the exchange of them being the most powerful. Test case 1, very consistent, low, and then you get to this where it's inconsistent, but you get the exchange of having mix-up, and the cards are also low mana as well.
Exactly, yeah. So we touched on the mana one earlier. The other
Yeah.
utility card he has, this one, I would still say it's pretty bad. It's not as bad as the mana one, but it discards all the cards you have and replaces them with something. It kind of feels like a worse version of the test case 1 utility card, where that would automatically fill any empty spaces, where here you need cards there already to replace it, right? Like I don't have a card here, I use the utility, those three get swapped, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a dead hand, it's obviously amazing, right? Like here, if I want to like look for high-low mix immediately, I can go here,
Yeah.
and then now, boom, immediate. I can go to that or low, and like they're not reacting to me immediately getting that, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm in a scenario where I'm like, I need something, right?
Mhm.
That card won't help me.
Yeah. And then just from watching like players like Kome and you playing the test case and
I know you can say
looking at the
players.
options.
I think it's just him. Like,
Yeah, him. What do you think is allowing him to? Because this is previously seen as the worst test case. So why do you think he's able to win with it? Like, what do you like? What potential do you see in this test case now that he's using it? If you've obviously been watching him.
I have, yeah. When I started off, and I just heard Gobo's thing about it, right? I was like, okay, test case 2 is trash. I'm like, okay, whatever. Let me verify that. I tried it around for a bit on my own using only test case 2, and I was like, man, this sucks. Then I heard about Kome, and like, what? No way. Like, someone, I believe, commented about it. And I looked, and I'm like, yeah, it's true. He's just winning with just test case 2.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he starts test case 1, he swaps test case 2 immediately. Doesn't even touch test case 3, which is, like, blasphemy for, like, how most people play Asuka,
Yeah.
right? But, I think Kome is able to win with this through he has insane defense. That just, obviously help anyone. He's, very hard to crack him from what I've seen. And, he's somehow able to manage the cards decently well. Like, I still rarely see him use the mana utility card here. Like the main time I see him use it is when he's going into a super, right?
Yeah.
But he somehow is able to keep a flow going where he has like this into whatever, and then now he has
Yeah.
he's able to utilize the switching card utility spell in here very well from what I've seen. He's able to cycle through without getting too many dead in Test Case 2, which is very powerful, because Test Case 2 there's some moments where obviously you get like teleports or whatever.
Yeah.
But here, there's not too many dead hands you can get other than Chaos card, which will be 1 of 5, which I wouldn't call it dead unless you have other bad stuff, right? The middle one, the card one, and the staff that just take time to apply, but are decent. I probably get them out.
Yeah, and honestly, with Kome around, I think this is one thing that maybe it's I'm starting to think is each test case. Okay, obviously outside of 3, but 1 and 2 could be potentially like very viable tournament-wise if you're just good enough as a player to manage the cards.
Exactly, yeah.
Like even like I wouldn't be surprised if one day we see an Asuka and he's just like, "Yo, I only use test case 1, like, and I'm the GOAT." Right?
Yeah. I would be surprised. It's very consistent, and Kome obviously has to play neutral a little bit more with test case 2, and he's just, I think it's another advantage of how he plays. He's able to navigate these things well, where he uses, like you mentioned earlier, like kind of the mind games, right?
Yeah.
Where, oh god, do I need to run this number over? He kind of just like waits for them to preemptively do something, and then he'll react accordingly, right?
Yeah.
And then once he gets like a anti-air XP or whatever, then he can start his offense with high-low mix.
Yeah, no, he manages it very well. Again, this character is just so interesting. But with all this interesting stuff, I have to ask, where do you place him on a tier list? So obviously, there's the top tiers, there's the high tiers of the characters that can win solo, and then obviously the remainder of the cast below those tiers. Where is he? Because I mean, obviously, it's I know Zondo said he thinks the character is bad. And in his previous tier list...
Bad, really?
In his previous tier list, he's mentioned that he... On the tier list, he had the character at bottom 10. He made a new one yesterday, but he didn't place Asuka because he didn't want to deal with...
I saw that.
Yeah, he didn't place him. But before, Zondo had him rated pretty low. Gobo, I mean, he's not even playing Asuka anymore.
I know.
So, as a player, from someone who has played him, where do you think Asuka can be on a tier list?
So I think it's a little weird to answer, because like, you think tier list, you think tournaments, right?
Yeah.
I think most people are very serious about tournaments. Well, obviously, like, you learn most matchups. If someone knows the Asuka matchup, it feels very bad to play against, because it kind of invalidates your entire thing, right? Like, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be throwing cubes, whatever, and let's say a character like let's say like Axel, for example, right? He's the biggest example. Like, he could just do 5p, whatever, break all these, and then I have to be approaching him. I lose my juiced up game plan, basically, right?
Yeah.
So tournament wise, a lot of characters do that to Asuka too. I'd say the main ones that can't, like, it's easier with the one that can't than the ones that can, would be like Baiken, Anji, and I think Kai to an extent. Like, those characters kind of don't have a super clear solution to break all the cubes while still advancing and killing him.
Yeah.
Whereas characters like Leo with his projectile, Faust with his scalpel, and Bridget with her yo-yo, and Sin with his normal 6p beat driver, Slayer with his Mappa Hunch. Like, I could go on and on and on, right? A lot of characters have specific answers to break the cubes and destroy them and kill Asuka for it.
Yeah.
But all that given, when Asuka gets a turn, it's very, very good, obviously.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of luck, I'd say, or obviously that's just the nature of drawing these cards.
Nature of RNG.
You can have bad luck, you can really get bad cards. We also have very good luck, right? Where I get like lightning books, fire cubes, immediately when I swap to text case 3. So all those things considered, I'd still put him high tier. I think I wouldn't want to say it's the worst matchup spread. I think that'd be a huge overstatement. But I think he has a lot of pretty hard matchups, assuming they know the matchup. But all that kind of goes away when you get a good turn going, right?
Yeah.
So it's very hard to put him in like a box of a tier list. But I would say I don't think he's top tier.
Okay.
I think he would be maybe mid to high tier. I think he's still very good. I want to say he's solo viable, but specifically Slayer and Axel feel very hard to fight with Asuka. Slayer, I think it's still possible to fight Slayer with Asuka. It's just so
So
hard.
hard.
I
You
think
gotta be
a
better.
lot of people are complaining about
You gotta
Slayer
be
right
like a
now.
30
Exactly.
billion
Yeah.
trillion times better than the Slayer. Like broken ass Slayer,
Yeah.
man.
It's interesting. I don't think it's close to Asuka, but I think it's amplified greatly. Just Asuka's
Yeah,
characteristics.
of course.
Axel, man, oh my god, Axel is
The
such a
worst.
bad
Yeah,
matchup.
the
He'll
worst.
throw. I have a comment on one of yours actually about the worst matchup in the game. A lot of people I saw saying Asuka, Axel, and I don't know about in the game because I just don't know all the other characters as well as I do Asuka.
Mhm.
But oh my god, it's bad. I remember Gobo I think was saying in his chat because he fights a lot of Axels and he wins, and people ask him about it, and he's like, yeah, I play this character against Axel because I don't think he should win. I just want to see like how good
Yeah.
I can do.
He said it was the
Like
worst. I remember when he spoke about it. He said it was the worst matchup
exactly, yeah.
for him.
So yeah, I think generally you can be viable with a solo Asuka, but you need to be good. You need to because matchups like I don't know Bridget, Faust, Sin, Slayer. I would say Leo to an extent because his projectile is broken versus Asuka. It's so good.
Nago.
Unless you have like a lot of cubes to break it. Nago is also another really bad one. That I should mention because personally I've been grinding that a lot and it's still very bad, but like I can feel myself making improvements in these matchups to where it's not impossible, where it's not the character limiting me, it's my skill, right? So I'd say mostly he's solo viable, but man, versus Axel and Slayer, you're gonna have a tough time.
Yeah,
That's
of
I'll leave it
course,
there.
of course. Yeah, no, I agree. Some of those matchups are pretty hard to play. I think some matchups have also gotten worse. Like I think Testament is one of them.
Oh, for sure. Testament. Oh my god, it's
it's okay. It's not necessarily bad. It's just really annoying to play. Like
exactly.
Good. Okay.
No, you're good.
All right,
Yeah. So I'll talk. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Like I was saying, it feels. Some of those matchups do feel very bad. From someone who's played Zato, I will say this. It's Asuka has the same thing as Zato when I played him at Zato's peak, where it's like losing matchup, but you put like a parentheses around it, right? It's like,
exactly losing matchup. I get a good turn. I can steamroll this into a win, right? No matter what character it is.
It's weird though because maybe it's just because I've played Zato for so long, but I feel more comfortable in matchups with Zato where I'm like losing when he was good versus Asuka, just because I think Asuka is I think his power levels obviously, I think he has the highest power level in the game potentially.
I think I have to agree. Like when he has like let's say he has like speed staff, mana discount, auto mana regen, auto draw, a lot of teleports left right mix. I would say he's probably the best character in the game, right? But there's so many conditions you need to meet to get there, where he's like the best character, quote unquote. You know,
Yeah, of course. But when he's down, he is down.
Exactly,
and I think that's the way they intended to make him play, obviously. For anyone wanting to play Asuka, what is some piece of advice that you you wish you knew to start, or any advice that you would have in general for anyone new?
If you're trying to pick up Asuka for the first time, I'd say there's a few important things to follow. Where stick to test case 1 for a bit, right? Because test case 3 it's super appealing. I can't lie. I really wanted to do it first when I started, but I stuck to test case 1 and I got used to, just casting, right, and getting stuff back, taking actions like test case 1, taking actions like doing something and getting a card back. Because this is your bread and butter, basically, right? You cast, redraw. That's basically what we're doing 90% of the time, and then know when to recognize, like, alright, now I have a little bit of low mana, I'll do this, the mana regen, and sacrifice getting a card for getting a bit more mana, right? So then I can continue more, maybe get 2 cards here this time because I have a more plus cube, right? You should play around with it a bit. Definitely go to the training room and just get used to like the canceling, right? Because this is very important. Asuka can cancel a chant or a spell cast into a redraw, into regenning mana with one of the 3. And into changing test case 2 with just a simple input as well, because you can do just forward and back like that, right, instead of doing core circles, and use that for everything, right? And don't be afraid to use health regen, because at first I was like, oh god, I want to drain my health, right, because I die when I have none of it, right? But you also die when you just can't play your offense, right, because then you're not enforcing anything. So don't be afraid to use health regen. I honestly haven't even been messing with yellow regen until like very recently, and that's only to optimize very certain things, right? Like if they're in the air for a while. and I have time to follow up, and I know I have a good hand, right? Then I would use the yellow mana regen. So most of the time, I just stick to red regen, and just get used to being able to throw a cube and get a card back. Know when you have a lot more advantage, like with a lightning cube or a wind cube, right? So maybe I can do this into regen mana and to get new cards, right? Just being able to make those decisions on the fly will really help you out and start your learning process. And one more thing to mention, I'm not sure Road really mentioned this. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but Asuka's rate at which he uses the resource to regen mana is always the same, right? But the rate at which you regen mana is dependent on distance. So here, for example, it took me that long to regen mana. Now if I go up close and do it, and say here, let me lose a bit more mana. If I go up close and do it, it's way quicker for less health. I wasn't really sure where to put that in, but it's just a good thing to know that if you're gonna be like full screen, right, you don't want to drain your entire health bar maybe to get full mana when you would be able to maybe run up a little bit, throw a cube, and regen mana up here, right? So that's another reason I said conditional zoner way earlier, right?
Yeah.
Because he's draining mana all over here, he's losing a lot of resources. Where if you're draining mana here, you could lose a little bit of health comparatively.
Yeah.
And another important thing I think that it'd be good just to learn from the start is Kara's casting. It's just Kara with dash, so it's not too bad to do. But let me find an example. Like here, right? I have lightning spell or whatever. Here, let me combo it actually. Sometimes I would be too far away to cast into lightning and have it actually combo. So it's just useful to learn how to do dash cards like this, right? Like I'm just getting more wall carry. It's just good. And it's very easy to learn. You just need to do dash right before you press the button to cast a spell. There's basically no reason to not do it. It's good to learn from the beginning and get that muscle memory down. Because you don't want to accidentally do, let's say I have a combo going. You don't want to accidentally do that, right? Then you can still get meaty pressure, obviously close slash, but you could consider the combo.
Yeah.
That would be a good important thing to learn from the start, I think. But yeah, most of the main points. Just take this SX1 for now until you're comfortable cycling through cards, like almost second nature, right?
Yeah.
Be aware when you have like a little more plus frames, right? Like there, Lightning Cube would have more plus frames. I could regen mana maybe and draw a card. And don't be afraid to use red mana regen, because it doesn't matter if you lose all your health if they can't take any actions, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I believe that is everything. I will put Christian's YouTube on the screen. He does post clips on there, so go check it out. I'll put his Discord as well in case you want to get in contact with them, ask him any Oscar-related questions. And then I'll put his Twitter on the screen as well. But yeah, no, that should do it. Thank you everyone for watching, and until next time.